Good morning, welcome to CATEX TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. Today is Wednesday, June 25th, 2014. The release is out from the Federal Transportation Safety Board as to the cause of the crash of Asiana Flight 214 in San Francisco last July. That was a 777 coming from Seoul into San Francisco. And as expected, the probe reports that the Boeing 777's overly complex control systems were partially to blame, as well as blame being levied on the pilots. The inquiry into the crash, which killed 3 Chinese teenagers and injured nearly 200 people, concluded yesterday. U.S. investigators called on Boeing to make changes to the increasingly complicated automated controls, which they claim pilots no longer, quote, fully understand. But the board was far from exonerating the Asiana pilots. They said that between them, the 3 veteran pilots were found to have committed up to 30 errors in their final approach to San Francisco International. Perhaps the most serious error came from the 45-year-old captain of the airplane, who was new to the 777, who inadvertently prevented the plane's autothrottle system from maintaining speed on approach for landing. So as a result, the plane came in too low, going too slow, and it neared the landing strip by striking the seawall, which then caused it to cartwheel. The report also underscored a problem that had long troubled aviation regulators, saying that the complicated automated aircraft controls designed to improve safety are creating new opportunities for human error. The Asiana flight crew, quote, over-relied on automated systems that they did not fully understand. That's not good. Scor's chief executive officer, Dennis Kessler, called for an end to the current run of low interest rates. Scor is a big top 5 reinsurance company based in Paris. They're international in scope. Mr. Kessler said, "My message to Mr. Carney, Mr. Draghi, and Ms. Yellen is to please stop ruining the reinsurance industry," in a plea to the central bank leaders. Kessler said the reinsurance industry was suffering unfairly from the aftermath of the financial crisis. Quote, "We were not at the heart of the crisis, nor did we create the crisis." He said that the prolonged low interest rate policy is a disaster, costing the industry the equivalent of the losses caused by Hurricanes Katrina, Rita, and Wilma each year. Kessler explained that the repeated sizable transfers of wealth from the reinsurance industry to governments was hurting profitability. He said, "We're the collateral victims of the monetary policy, which has been designed to help governments and banks after the financial crisis. The problem now is how to get out of this situation." He said that his company, Scor, is waiting for the financial situation to stabilize and for a clearer picture on inflation to emerge before allocating more capital to longer tail lines, a segment to which Scor currently has limited exposure. And I don't blame him. He's going to continue to write short-tail property business and not move too much into casualty until he has some certainty on investment returns. That big 7.9 earthquake that struck the Aleutian Islands in Alaska on Monday was the biggest earthquake to hit the U.S. in more than a decade. The earthquake caused no damage, and the tsunami warning that was posted immediately after it struck was lifted. The last time a 7.9 occurred was also in Alaska in 2002. The regulators of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the American government home buying agencies, mortgage companies, is considering selling insurers who charged excessive fees for hazard coverage. This would be also known as forced place insurance. According to a government report, the 2 agencies could have overpaid about $158 million in 2012 alone. An auditor's analysis of the rates paid by Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae found that the companies which were placed into U.S. conservatorship, i.e. mortgage defaults, suffered, quote, considerable financial harm as a result of premiums charged. They're weighing lawsuits. State insurance regulators have found companies, including Asiana and QBE, to have overcharged borrowers for hazard coverage. In some cases, regulators found that prices had been increased because of arrangements in which the insurers paid servicers to steer them businesses. Borrowers so far have recouped about $674 million in class action lawsuits, and observers said that Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae may have been harmed to the same extent. So this could be another chunk of change here. Here's an interesting story. A Pakistan international airliner flight from Saudi Arabia to Peshawar, Pakistan, was landing earlier today, and it was shot at by gunmen apparently lining the runway with rifles. A Pakistani woman on board was killed. It carried 178 passengers. The plane, when it came under attack, had bullets piercing the fuselage and the engine. One bullet narrowly missed the captain. Of course, on June 8th and 10th, the Taliban attacked the airport 2 times in Karachi, Pakistan's financial heart and home to 18 million people. In eastern India earlier today, the Rajdhani Express was derailed. Some 18 cars tipped over and 4 people were killed after an explosion occurred. It's believed that the explosion was sabotage caused by Maoist guerrillas who sometimes operate in that part of India. If this is confirmed as an attack, it would be the first by these insurgents since the new Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi took control of the government. And 8 people were hurt in northern Cairo today when 4 homemade explosive devices blew up at metro stations and a courthouse. The bombs were primitive in nature. No claim of any responsibility yet, but this is the first manifestation of violence since the swearing in of Egypt's new president, Sistani. And Paul McCartney, who has had to cancel about 3 weeks' worth of concert tours, apparently is feeling well enough to go back on the road. In a brief video posted on YouTube last night, the 72-year-old former Beatle said that he's feeling fit, he's recovered, and he's looking forward to the opening of his American tour on July 5th in Albany, New York. So that's good news for Paul McCartney fans. That's the news for today. If we have any breaking news, we'll come back and tell you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.